Have you ever laughed so hysterically at something so simple you were starting to get legitimately worried that you were losing your sanity or something? About what were you laughing so hard then? It was a windy day and I was eating a bagged lunch with my coworkers. Suddenly a huge gust of wind blows the bag and all my food away, leaving me staring at an empty table with a fork in my hand. I didn't even try to catch it. I just started laughing so hard I had to lay on the ground. The ability to laugh at my own pain is like my only superpower. I was at the beach once with friends while I was a poor college student. Ed packed myself a sandwich, and as soon as I unwrapped it, a seagull swooped down from behind and grabbed the entire thing out of my hand. Never saw it coming. I was hungry, but also kind of impressed. Clearly he had outsmarted me. In high school, a guy at my table was asked if he ever had freak, and with the most straight face said no, but I've seen dogs do it. His frankness and deadpan attitude made me laugh so hard, and for so long I was worried that I was going to pass out. Was this in Northwest Pennsylvania? I think I know that kid. In woodshop class we were a bunch of dumb pooper heads and the would you suck a dick for $1 million? Question came up. People were discussing this, then the guy sitting in the row in front of us turned around and asked what we were talking about. We told him, and he replied without hesitation, hell, for $1 million I'd blow them and let them drop a load in my ass. Was this in Northwest Pennsylvania? I've never been to Pennsylvania. I had a dream recently that a friend of mine spent 2 full hours focusing intensely hard on writing something down. When he was finally finished, he showed it to me in a 5-year-old's handwriting in crayon. The page simply read apple cider dognuts. I laughed so hard I woke myself up crying. Also, I was once at a small but serious poetry reading event at my university. A few people spoke about different connections they had to the poet, like the host of the event who introduced had gone to grad school with her, the university president who had worked with her mentor, etc. My friend whispered to me in this goofy voice and I fricked her mom. We both were laughing so hard people were turning around to glare like 4 rows ahead. Even though we were trying to be silent, I laughed on and off for half an hour and had to leave the event early because it was so disruptive/inappropriate. I've laughed myself awake from a relations dream before. I had a dream that a guy and I were doing the nasty when my dad walked in on us and glared in disapproval. I look over at the guy I was with and notice head turned into a 6 feet tall rooster. My dad just looked at me and said in the most deadpan voice, "That's one big ding dong." I woke up laughing at the simultaneous pun/dad joke combo. I just laughed at this for a full 10 minutes. My throat hurts, and I think my sense of humor is beyond saving, but that was honestly one of the funniest things I've ever read in my life. So thank you. SpongeBob, why didn't you write your essay? I'm in tears. I wish I had an award to give you. I didn't question my sanity, but I got stuck in a laughing loop with my then 1-year-old son. He was laughing at my laugh, and I was laughing at his. It was the better part of an hour and we were both exhausted afterward. It was over 30 years ago and it still makes me when I think about it. This reminds me of a sleepover I had in middle school. There wasn't enough couch space for all of us girls to sleep on, so me and a few of my friends were on the floor. I can't explain why, but everything I heard was hilarious. I laughed until it hurt to smile. I justified it by saying that everything is funny on the floor. So we all took turns lying on the carpet and laughing our asses off. The people on the couch started laughing at the people on the floor, and the people on the floor were laughing because the people on the couch were laughing. It still holds true today. Everything really is funny on the floor. This is the end bloopers when they're talking about their religion and Craig Robinson says, and Dana's Muslim and Annie McBride just says shalom. It's not even that funny, but I lose my deuce every single time. I'm gonna jack off all over your house, James Franco. I have so many similar moments with that whole crew. When Jonah Hill said it's me, Jonah Hill, from Moneyball to God, I cracked up. Also when Hez a demon and Hez like yeah, everybody says about Rogen selling out. With McBride, it's the moment in Pineapple Express when Franco and Rogen first show up to his place and he says Hez and they're just trying to get him a third Akin scholarship while bouncing that ball. I don't know why, but that deuce kills me every time. My mom once said boo to my dad who kept hiccuping to make him stop. She said it in the most innocent and pure way that we couldn't stop laughing. The laughing went on for like an hour though. Years ago I was having drinks with my best friend when she developed the hiccups. I told her I would have to scare her. About 5 minutes later, I told her I had something very serious to talk to her about. She leaned in, looking a little worried. I sighed heavily and said, "You're pregnant." Her eyes got huge, and in a panicked voice she asked, "I am?" She immediately realized her mistake, but it was too late. I was dying laughing. Literal tears running down my face. I couldn't pull it together. It's still a memory that makes me giggle. And the best part is it worked. Her hiccups stopped. OMG, here's my boo story. I once showed up to work at a small family-owned corner store. My coworker was at the front desk, and it was hot as muck out, so I just walked in the propped open front door. His back was to me. He was in his phone. So I snuck right over to scare him, of course. But when it came time to say boo, I kinda only ushered out a really awkward sounding boo, as if it were a question. Regardless, this adult man screamed like a little girl through his phone and fell to the ground. All I could do was laugh, and I did. For a while. And then every time I thought of it afterward, I'm laughing now just remembering the goddamn scream that came out of him. I don't remember the context, but my best friend and I, then in our preteen/early teens, were flopping around on her bedroom floor and screaming fish out of water. We insisted on showing her mom, who looked at us like we were on meth. I almost passed out. I could not breathe from laughing so hard. I almost passed out. I could not breath from laughing so hard. Are you sure it wasn't just your gills not working on land? I read a meme asking if Norwegian clowns say junk. My girlfriend speaks fluent Norwegian and told me how that would be pronounced. Kind of a he-on-k. I thought I was going to pass out from lack of air due to laughing. It'd catch a grip every now and then, and a quiet eong would corpse me into laughing harder. This comment has made me hysterical. Many years ago, I went through about a week-long phase where I simply could not read my credit card number over the phone without laughing hysterically. No reason. It just started one day. Then I think I got all up in my head and it just snowballed from there. Every time I tried to order food, confirm some travel reservation, whatever, I would start laughing, and it would take me forever to get through the number. The surprising thing was how infectious the laughter was. I thought the people on the other end of the phone would be annoyed, but probably 9 times out of 10 they'd start laughing too. It was like some virulent mindworm of contagious hysteria. And then just as suddenly as it started, it was over. Hasn't happened since, though I still brace myself every time, just in case. Hahaha, this reminds me of the time someone came to my front door to try and sell me solar panels or something, and for no reason, I started getting very jiggly, like really trying to hold it in. The guy then also started trying not to laugh as he explained the benefits of solar power to me. I eventually had to apologize for laughing. No idea why. Upvoted for virulent mindworm of contagious hysteria. It was actually something in an AskReddit thread. The question was something along the lines of what is an unsolved mystery or paranormal activity that cannot be explained? Someone's reply was that one time when they were younger they farted and the TV turned off. I have no idea why, but something about how it was sandwiched between much more serious replies just made me lose it. I was laughing so much my wife came to ask what was so funny. Her reaction, basically calling me an idiot, made me laugh even more. Even as I type this comment, I'm grinning like an idiot thinking about it. Edit. Whoa, this blew up. Wife is still sleeping beside me and I'm giggling reading all these replies. Thanks for all the awards and all the laughs. This is what makes Reddit awesome. Not on a Reddit post, but a username. I don't usually read usernames, but there was a completely serious comment on a serious post made by user poopflavoredp or something to that effect. I laughed way harder than you would expect from a 37-year-old woman. Hahaha, this is the one that got me. It was late and my wife was driving us home. We passed by an R&W, a fast food chain with its own root beer. My wife said, "Hey, you know what R&W stands for?" And I said I assumed it was the initials of the founders. She said, "No, it's for hamburgers and would be and I instantly and fully lost my poop. Her delivery was so cute, and I was so tired, that I laughed about it for the entire rest of the 15-minute drive. For the next several days I was still giggling every time I thought about it. This reminds me of the funniest thing my wife has ever done. We were on a weekend trip to New York City, and I was in a level 9 fury over the crafty people and driving we'd dealt with all day. We got stuck in a traffic jam after hitting up a Sonic for late night dessert on the way back to our hotel, and I was fuming. Without missing a beat, she takes a spoonful of her ice cream and just starts saying, "Lieutenant Dan, I got you some ice cream from Forrest Gump." I no-sold it and didn't want to break my focus on being mad, and all of a sudden I see the spoon enter my line of vision from the left as she just says in an elongated fashion, "Lieutenant Dan, ice cream." I burst out laughing, and we laughed for like 10 minutes in traffic. It's still regularly brought up as one of our inside jokes and makes me smile to this day. I was breastfeeding my newborn in the middle of the night and watching Dave Chappelle. The Rick James skit was on. I laughed so hard that my husband woke up and took the baby away because he was afraid I was going to drop him. He asked me what was wrong, and I snorted him Rick James Beach. He was not amused. TBF, that's a ducking hilarious bit. To be fair, those middle of the night feedings bring on the mom brain so hard. It was the Charmin Bears commercials for me. 3 AM feeding and lost it laughing. These bears really do a lot and like to talk about it. Me and my friend nearly ended ourselves laughing at the Benedict Baby Juicer Burr batch memes, Benadryl Cabbage patch and so on. It was at the point where it physically hurts to laugh at it. Wow. I woke up to more than 8k upvotes and 3 awards. It's heartwarming to see that in such crappy times simple things can unite us all in laughter. I have loved reading new variations and silently shaking with laughter next to my sleeping other half. Thank God for COVID-19 Christmas mask. His name is the gift that keeps giving. I was with my mom and sister in the car doing this, and we started laughing so hard I nearly had to pull over. I believe it was Brandenburg Cucumber Wubwub that made us absolutely lose our minds. I lost my breath laughing when I learned Brandywine Crumpler Zone can't say penguin. Bangladesh Crumple Sack was my favorite. Second was British Guy Crumpet Snack. My mom read the story about how he interfered with a delivery driver mugging a few years back and said the following: "I read that Benjamin Baby Juice Ebba Bunch came upon a robbery, and instead of running away from the muggers, he beat them off in the street." To this day it might be the hardest I've laughed. Edit. Thanks for the silver kind stranger. Really high. Doing a puzzle with my husband and we were eating the poop-teased frozen pizza we had ever eaten. Like, just the worst. It was supposed to be garlic cheese, and it tasted like absolute nothing in cardboard. So we started pulling everything out of the fridge to put on it and make it better. Finally, my husband decided he was going to cook a bunch of hot dogs and roll them up in the pizza. Somehow, the concept of hot dog pizza was so incredibly funny, we both started laughing and couldn't stop. I laughed so hard. For so long it became physically painful, and I couldn't breathe. But I couldn't stop laughing, so I was just barking out this weird honking cough. By the time we stopped laughing, I was pretty sure I had laughed myself sober. We marked the date on our calendar, so we never forgot Hot Dog Pizza Day. And a month after that night, Pizza Hut came out with hot dog crust pizza, and I swear they were spying on us. Edit. For anyone who wanted to know, Hot Dog Pizza Day is October 13th. No one out pizzas the Ducking Hut. I think you guys manifested it. This one had me snorting air out of my nostrils at 7 in the morning with my mom in bed with me. My friend and I were watching Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs when we were about 12. There's a scene in that movie where a giant bowl of water spills on everybody sitting in bleachers. And there's a guy in the splash zone ready to get wet, except everybody except him gets splashed instead. And he throws his hat on the ground and yells, "Oh, come on." My friend and I laughed our asses off at this. And this eventually led to us replaying a ton of scenes in slow motion, zoomed in, etc. There was a scene in South Park where they are trying to get a whale to the moon. Long story. Makes no sense. But there was one gag that the boys cannot get NASA to do it, so they go to NASA, the Mexican space agency. So, when the rocket takes off with the whale, some mariachis come out and play a song to celebrate. I don't know why, but it caught us off guard and a friend and me started laughing so hard and so long I thought I was going to die of asphyxia. Toward the end of that same movie, there's a scene where gummy bears are attacking their spaceship or whatever. It's been a while. Anyways, my oldest daughter, who was maybe 4 or 5 years old at the time, was quietly watching this and all of a sudden loses her ever-loving crap. Starts screaming, the bears, while crying hysterically. So help me. And I still feel bad about it. But the husband and I started laughing and couldn't stop him trying to comfort her through my laughter and ended up just putting her to bed. We still laugh about that. It was so unexpected. This same kid watches movies like Nine and Frankenweenie and Paranorman without blinking, but gummy bears make her freak out. We laughed until we cried. My family was eating at Red Robin. My grandpa told a great joke. I laughed so hard that I pooped my pants. I was like 5. My dad took me to the restroom and asked if they were my lucky underwear. I said no, cut them off with his pocket knife, cleaned me up, and went back out to finish our food. What was the joke? My husband made our 4-year-old son laugh so hard he peed his pants and my husband laughed and tried to reassure him it was okay. The next day I was alone in the house, holding our newborn and our 4-year-old announces that it is funny to pee in your pants. At first I'm confused and then I'm horrified as he just begins peeing. He was so confused when I didn't find it funny. Luckily we had a comforter that was sorta half on the couch, half on the floor, and he mainly peed on that, so I could just toss that in the washer and dryer. But I had to explain to him it's funny and okay when it's an accident, not when it's on purpose. I was in SAT class and we were going over practice questions. The instructor read out a group of spoon collectors, and I began laughing so hard and for so long that I had to leave the classroom. I'm over it now, but it was troubling. A group of spoon collectors is known as a draw. LMAO, that sounds like some kind of slur or euphemism for old people. Misheard an episode of Octonauts about the coconut crab. The phrase astronaut crabs conjured simultaneous images of crabs in spacesuits and also giant crabs cracking open astronauts with their claws. And I absolutely lost it. I could hardly breathe. There were tears of mirth. My children were terrified, but also trying to keep up with the joke, which I could barely explain. We still talk about it, but it will never be quite as funny as when my brain caught me by surprise. In a similar vein, I was with a bunch of friends at an anime convention and hadn't slept well for 2 nights simply because I can never sleep away from home and was trying to doze on a hotel room bed while the others were getting ready. One girl asked another, "Nami, can you pass me the body spray?" And Nami exclaimed, "Body flies." The other replied sarcastically, "Yes, pass me the body flies," and I lost it. I laid on the bed and laughed for minutes on end. The others regarding me with disgust since they were ready to hit the con again. Everyone shuffled out of the room, threatening to leave me, so I forced myself to stop laughing. Got up and followed them. Down in the convention hall, I thought about goddamn body flies again and started giggling. But I didn't want the others to know, so I pretended to be looking at some brochures and tried to regain composure. My best friend caught sight of me trying my damnedest not to laugh and came over, saw I was looking at a stack of brochures, and turned to me and said with feigned contempt, "Tell me you're not still laughing at body flies." That was the end of me, and I had to sit down on the floor in the middle of this convention, sobbing laughing, tears on my face, while my friends were left bewildered and kind of repulsed. By the end of the weekend, though, it had become an actual sort of inside joke and still is, so I guess I was somewhat vindicated. I was cackling like a witch at a memory that wasn't even that funny. I just remembered I had accidentally called a cup of tea. What made me look insane was that I started bursting out laughing in the backseat of my mum's car when her and my sister was talking about how many people had died BC of the last pandemic. Yeah, that was probably horrific to hear. Cup of tea would actually be right if you lived in Birmingham, UK, because of the accent. Me and some friends went on a trip with this youth leadership organization. The trip was supposed to last 5 days, but our flight back home was delayed a full 22 hours. We ended up staying in a hotel and playing Cards Against Humanity. I think the prompt had something to do with the worst line on a first date or something like that. One of us answered yeast. We laughed for 10 full minutes and my sides hurt for the rest of the night. I was playing cab with my roommates once, and we got the after the earthquake scene pen brought to the people of Haiti and someone answered Gary, and we all lost our poop for 15 minutes imagining a care package consisting of just one normal guy. The people of Haiti rejoice at the sight of him. We still joke about it 2 years later. I got cards when it was a Kickstarter, so no one knew what it was. First time we played was on a long train, and it was 5 of us guys. Behind us was this rather well-to-do woman and we tried to keep the noise down as we could see she was a little bit delicate as to what the game entailed. Trouble was trying to hold in the laughter made it 10 times funnier. I don't even remember the card, but the answer I played was something about having a period. Well, that was half read quietly, but she heard and gasped really loudly. Well, that set us all off. We laughed non-stop at full volume for like 5 minutes. Tears rolling down our eyes. I tried to apologize to the woman and she took it well, but man, it was honestly one of the hardest things I've had to do, trying to squeeze out a sincere "I'm sorry" without my head exploding. I was struggling to breathe from laughing so hard. Oh man. Those were good times. Me and 2 of my friends were working on a movie, but we messed up some files and accidentally replaced the black screen after a character's suicide with a panorama of cinnamon rolls. Cinnamon Voyage. At school 6 years ago, I was eating a jar of Planters mixed nuts, and look at the warning label. Mind you, it was barely 7 o'clock in the morning and I did not drink coffee at the time. The warning label said mixed nuts and I could not stop laughing. I know it's there for people who aren't too bright, but it was just so blatant and hilarious. Lol edit. Wow. That's a lot of unexpected upvotes. One might say wait for it, it's nuts. Edit 2. Thanks for the awards. My cousins and I once laughed during an entire flight because the crackers they offered in flight were called Hala, Quizo, Hello Cheese, and we just couldn't stop laughing. Our moms were pissed. I was reading a list, probably on BuzzFeed IDK, and it was one of those that had alternate names for things like Danger Noodle for snakes, etc. And I got to Volcano Mountain Fountain and I legitimately laughed for 20 minutes. Had to pee. Cried. Couldn't breathe, the whole works. I couldn't even think about it for weeks without cracking up again. My husband thought I had honestly lost my mind. I used to work for Apple. I was the tech support person for whatever the issue was. And I remember having this conversation with one of the callers while we were fixing her phone and we were talking about the different names for animals, and I asked her if she knew what a danger noodle was, and she said she didn't, so I explained what it was, and man did she explode into laughter for so long that it got me crying from laughing so hard while working that my manager came over to make sure I was doing my work, and OMG me and this girl laughed so hard and so long over all the other names after Danger Noodle, and that's easily one of my top 5 customer calls. I miss being a tech support person. Manta Ray Majestic Sea Flap Flap. My husband is in charge of mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving. He forgot the word pot and asked me where I keep my boiling bowl. Mountain Fountain? I'm never using Volcano ever again. That's amazing. I'm in Toys R Us with my 3-year-old who suddenly says she has to go to the bathroom. Oh no. Number 1 or 2? 2. I grab her hand and rush to find an employee. Do you have a bathroom? Yes, but it's all the way on the other end of the store. I turn to my daughter. We got her run okay. Nah, don't worry. I blew it out. What's that now? I blew it out. I could barely carry my poopty daughter through the store because I was laughing uncontrollably. Had to ditch her pants and underwear in the bathroom garbage and carry her naked ass out with my coat wrapped around her waist. Still laughing hysterically. I must have looked absolutely insane. Carry my crafty daughter in crying. No. But way back when in high school the teacher wrote newspaper, but the A looked close to an O, so a kid laughed hysterically for a few minutes because it looked like newspaper, which is pretty funny. But I won't say multiple minutes funny. I think multiple minute laughter seems to be from hitting you just right in a really weird way, not necessarily because it's so super funny. Truck him laughing so hard at newspaper. Sometime in the mid to late aughts, My husband was on the phone with iRobot customer support regarding our Roomba. I was in another room, but I could hear his side of the conversation clearly, and I could tell he wasn't getting the results he'd hoped for. As he got more frustrated, he blurted out, "I've had problems with this robot since the day I brought it home." Something about that particular phrase just hit me hard. I immediately started laughing and couldn't stop. I was still laughing when he got off the phone. Understandably, he wanted to know what was wrong with me. Through maniacal laughter, I parroted the phrase back to him, which had something of a feedback loop effect on my laughter. It's been over a decade, but thinking of that phrase still makes me giggle. My husband was on the phone with Sparks 360 tech support back in 07 because one of the games he downloaded didn't work. He kept trying to tell the tech the name of the game, but the tech couldn't understand him. So he goes Streets of Rage. Rage, like what I'm feeling right now. And my mom and I just cracked the duck up. We had tears coming out of our eyes. I don't know why it was so funny, but here we are 13 years later still cracking up about it. Late at night during a middle school sleepover, my friends and I started to play a board game called Worst Case Scenario. The cover has two pictures on it, one of a shark and one of a man running from a swarm of bees. Somebody pointed out it looked like the guy was running from the bee straight into the shark's mouth, and we laughed for 10 minutes straight. The true worst case scenario. Oh my gosh, I have that game. I've never encountered anyone else who has played it.